me just first say, like, John Sauer isn't an unqualified individual. I mean, he is, from what I understand, and he's eminently qualified, all the credentials, all the things. But in his role as a lawyer for Donald Trump, he's actually been asked and has done things that I think would make other lawyers with his credentials pause. The brief that John Sauer filed on behalf of Donald Trump in the recently argued TikTok case. So, this is the case about whether a law that would require TikTok to either divest its Chinese ownership or go dark in the United States is within Congress's authority to enact. And this was a case between the federal government and TikTok, but Donald Trump, as president-elect, decided to file an amicus brief, a friend of the court brief, and John Sauer wrote this brief on his behalf and filed it and put his bar number on it. And it's wild. It is an absolutely wild, insane, like, if a student gave this to me as a first year legal writing exercise, I would pull the student aside and ask them whether or not this was the career for them. Because the brief basically says what the court should do is pause this law, pause the effective date of this law to allow Donald Trump to step in because he is a quote unquote consummate deal maker, end quote, and he should be allowed to intervene here and negotiate with China to figure out a resolution to this. Like, so that is just wild. Like, this president-elect, instead of like all of the usual procedures for how we do policy and how we enact laws and how the court addresses laws that may or may not be invalid because they are constitutionally infirm, let's put all that to the side for a minute and just let America's number one deal maker step in and handle this. Only he can fix it.
Number one TV deal maker.
I mean, like seriously, that was crazy. The other crazy thing about it, and this should actually alarm individuals who are thinking about what's going to happen in this new administration. One of the theories behind letting Donald Trump, consummate deal maker, come in and handle the whole TikTok flap is that Congress doesn't have the authority to pass this law because all of this is within the purview of the president. So if you thought we had separation of powers and there was a lane for Congress and a lane for the judiciary and a lane for the president, it's just one road. It's an Autobahn, and it's an Autobahn for the president. And that's basically what John Sauer was arguing in this brief. And reading this, like, it made my head explode. It's so insane. It's so divorced from constitutional reality. It's so wild. And I literally was like, you really put your bar number on this. Okay, I guess. And that's going to be the new Solicitor General, the federal government's lawyer before the Supreme Court, the 10th justice, as it were.